Hello everyone, welcome to my school summary synopsis of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I recently read this for school. I'm sorry that this is coming a week later than planned. I was still reading it last week and we took the last quiz on the final chapter. We're not officially done with it yet, but I still thought I would make one for me and for anyone else who has to read this for school. In this video, I'm just going to go over the story and maybe talk about a couple things that I noticed, but it's mostly just a summary for anyone who was confused or maybe just didn't have time to read, anything like that. So if you fit in any of that categories, then stay and watch. So in this book is about 107 pages long. It's rather short. And I am in scholarship English, so they made me read it rather quickly. So I'll just go ahead and start off and begin with the first page. So the book starts off with our main characters, Lenny and George, walking in the woods. And they come across a pond, and so they set down their things, their bindles, which was important, which is like their hobo packs, and they set those down and they begin to have a conversation. George is smaller and shorter and is much smarter than Lenny. Lenny is mentally challenged and is really big and really tall and strong and doesn't know his own strength. He's like a child in a man's body, which comes into play later. And they have a conversation about how they could be going to their new work now, but George likes where they are, so they're going to stay there for the day. And Lenny brings up how he has a mouse in his pocket because he likes to feel soft things. And it's a dead mouse because Lenny accidentally killed it, because he accidentally squished it. And so George takes it and he throws it across the pond. And then he tells Lenny to go get wood so then they can light a fire so then they can cook their beans and have dinner. Lenny goes off and he grabs a stick and then runs back as fast as he can. And George immediately knows how fast Lenny got back that Lenny went and grabbed the mouse. So he takes the mouse from him and he throws it even farther this time and tells Lenny to not go back for it. So they make a fire, they cook their beans, and they eat them. The next day, they take their things and they go to work, and they show up. They show up around afternoon, so everyone who's left for work is gone, and they go to the bunkhouse, and everyone's kind of upset that they showed up late, but they just kind of brush it off. And George makes sure to tell Lenny as well before they get there too, that Lenny isn't allowed to speak when they're there, because then they'll know that Lenny is dumb, is what he says. And so George says, don't speak, let him see how you work first, and then he can make an opinion on you. So they're there, and they start meeting people. They meet, I'll just kind of go over everyone. I don't remember the particular order, but I'll just kind of go through it real fast. So there's Curly, who I believe is the boss's son, and so he likes to boss everyone around. He's called Curly because he has like curly hair. I think it's red. I don't remember, but I know he has curly hair. He wears boots with spurs, I think, and I remember he's very bossy. There's also Curly's wife, who is a tart, is what they call her, which means she flirts around with all of the guys, and she's just trying to get attention. One of the guys she flirts with especially is Slim, who has like dark hair and is like good looking and a hard worker and like the stable hand. And so she goes after Slim a lot. And then there is also Candy, who's an old man who's missing his hand because he lost it in an accident at the farm while working. And he also has a really old dog, which is important. And the dog smells really bad. There's also Carlson, who tells Candy that they should shoot the dog to put it out of its misery and to make everyone stop suffering. And he also is very demanding as well. Who's someone else in there? And then another character you kind of meet later is Crooks. These are all just kind of the main characters to know because they're all really important. So there's Crooks, who is the black slave that works there. Well, I don't believe he's a slave. He works there, and they treat him like a slave because he's a black man who has a very crooked back. And I believe that's all of the characters at the farm. Anyways, so they're there and they just kind of go to sleep. I believe in the next chapter, or maybe the same chapter, just the next event is Carlson telling Candy that he should shoot his dog, And Candy says, well, I can't do it. So Carlson takes a gun and he takes the dog out and he kills the dog. I remember the next day, Slim announces that his dog had puppies. And so he lets Lenny have one, and he also mentions that he dreaded any puppy who was weak or too small to, like, survive. And so Lenny kind of leaves and takes care of the puppies a lot, while the rest of them kind of work. Then, I remember George and Slim talk about the incident of why George and Lenny had to move to this farm from their old work. And I believe they came from weed. They came from weed. That's where they used to work. And so, what happened was Lenny grabbed a hold of a girl's dress because it felt soft, and the girl screamed and freaked out. And Lenny grabbed onto it because he didn't know what to do, and so everyone thought he was trying to hurt her or rape her. And so they had to leave, and that's where they fled to this new place. And Slim says, well, that's a shame, that's awful, and George is like, yes. And then George also talks with Candy about the stake that they're trying to get. George and Lenny want to have a stake of land and live there on their own and live off the fat of the land, like they like to say. And Lenny likes to fantasize about having a bunch of rabbits that he can take care of because they're very soft and they're big enough that he won't kill them, is what he believes. And Candy wants in on it and says he'll pay them and everything. It's great. And so that happens, and they all believe that it's going to be great. And Lenny keeps taking care of his puppy, and they're all happy. And then one day Lenny goes to go talk with Crooks. Crooks is putting liniment on his back, and I remember it's late at night, and Lenny's talking with him, and Crooks wants him to leave, but Lenny just kind of talks, and Crooks is just like, whatever. So Lenny mentions the stake, and Crooks is like, oh, I just want to go live there. I don't want any money. I just want to be able to live with you guys. And Candy shows up too and talks about it with them, and they're all like, that's great. And that's kind of that whole scene. And then Curly's wife comes in and puts down Crooks and leaves, and they're all like, that's dumb. Then the next day, Lenny is sitting in the barn with his puppy, who he accidentally killed, which kind of happens a lot with like the mice and stuff. He accidentally broke its neck from treating it too roughly. And so he gets angry and throws it and is all like, oh, I'm sorry. Then Curly's wife comes in and starts talking to him. And Lenny mentions how George told him not to talk to anybody. Also, all of the guys, including George, are out playing a game outside the barn. And so Lenny and Curly's wife are talking. And Curly's wife says that she just wants someone to talk to. She's lonely. And Lenny's like, I understand. So they begin talking, and she asks about the puppy. And Lenny says that he likes soft things. And Curly's wife says, my hair is really soft. Go on, feel it. And so Lenny feels her hair. He starts petting it, and he says, oh, that's really soft hair. And he starts feeling her hair even harder. And she's like, okay, now let go. And he doesn't. And so she starts yelling. And so he covers her face to where she can't breathe. And she starts screaming and struggling. And so he gets upset and is like, no, don't do that. And she keeps doing it because she's trying to get away. And so he gets angry and shakes her and breaks her neck. And then he realizes that he killed her. And he's like, oh no, George is going to give me hell for this. And so he flees to the brush back where George and Lenny were originally. Candy comes in, and so does George, and they find her dead. And George decides to leave so that no one thinks he did it. Everyone goes and finds her dead and is like, oh, it's Lenny. It's definitely Lenny. And so they all go out to go look for him. And they notice also that Carlson's gun is missing, so they think Lenny has it. So they go out. George gets to Lenny first, and Lenny says, oh, George, I'm so sorry. And that's what Lenny says, and George is like, no, it's okay. So George begins to tell Lenny about the stake that they're going to have, and makes Lenny face away from him to the river. And he begins to tell him about the rabbits and all this stuff as he raises Carlson's gun and he shoots him in the back of the head. And he kills Lenny, so then he doesn't have to suffer. And then the rest of the guys get there and are like, oh, yay, like, you got Lenny. And Slim's like, oh, man, I'm sorry. And he takes George away to go get him a drink. And Carlson's like, what got into those two? And that is the last line of the book. And there you go. That was Of Mice and Men. I'm sorry if that was rather quick, but that's the best synopsis. It was a pretty short book, so hope you enjoyed. I hope that helped. If you need anything else on it, just let me know, and I'll give you guys more info as it comes. Thanks. Have a nice day. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.